Player is going to push in, and that was a huge blunder. That was a ginormous blunder by Strelock. He ran all of his Marines up into siege tank, into the siege tank line with absolutely no support, and I think Strelock did just lose that game. And that is what I'm talking about, is that with Terran games, you can literally have the momentum shift so easily with just one slight blunder. You can see that it was literally one click of a mouse after a stim of running it into these 4 siege tanks that Strelock is now in fact behind. I did have someone comment to me earlier, and he said that I was being indecisive with the first cast, but that is just simply because one of the reasons why Terran is so much fun is because it is so back and forth, and the opportunity, or not the opportunity, but the advantage really does switch. And this is what I'm talking about. You can see that he can siege up here, but reinforcements can still filter in, and he's just going to be content with shelling down all these SCVs. But there's Marines pushing in the front, and he really should have pushed in there and tried to pick off that last siege tank, but he does not. He's going to use the medevac to scout the front, and these SCVs are really going to be fated to be dead. And this is where Happy is kind of going to start taking a bigger and bigger lead, and it is up to Strelock to all of a sudden make some sort of damage happen. Strelock unloading, and he's going to unload on top of this missile turret. He probably will lose the medevac, but I think for him it will be worth it. Or maybe he will dodge the missile turrets altogether. If he can drop right here, I think he'll find a sweet spot, pulling a lot of SCVs off the line. And look at that, finding the sweet spot. That is just unlucky for Happy, so he does have to pull all of his units back, and he's going to lose a lot of SCVs. If we go to the unit counting position, you can see that the SCV count has evened out a little bit more, but he's actually going to push out, and he will in fact lose this entire army, including he could have lost the medevac if Happy had been a little bit more on the ball, but it is absolutely no problem. We will go back to the production facility, and you can just see creating more tanks. He was forced to lift this orbital command up, and that's just so that he can still get this gas. He really wants this gas, I guess, man. Really wants this gas. This, actually having your orbital command here is actually better than having it here, and you do get a better gas count because of it. But regardless of that fact, you still do lose all of this mineral mining, and when you are mining only gas, you are actually not using that expansion to the full extent. But hold that thought, because now we have an engagement here, and the Marines are going to push in, but they will just be absolutely decimated by these siege tanks. But there's an extremely good split by them, so they are not actually all taking Marine fire damage, and there does go down the Vikings to each other, and I think that Happy does now have the advantage yet again, even though Strelock did have a huge 10 SCV supply lead. He still did lose the advantage, but in all fairness, he is in the advantageous spot in terms of map positioning, because the siege tanks can siege here while still being reinforced by Marines and Marauders running from the barracks. But that is absolutely no problem, because Strelock has now grabbed a third, and I think Happy is kind of trying to be a little bit all in with this, because while Strelock does have a third and he has 47 SCVs, excuse me, and 247 SCVs, he actually is going to lose all of these Marines here. It's very smart by Happy to kind of just have that game sense to pick those off. I think he is trying to flank these 2 tanks here, and he's going to push in with this tank line up here while pushing in with these units at the back. We shall see what actually ends up happening, but you can see that with 3 bases, Strelock is going to start pulling farther and farther ahead. Happy is just now dropping it, and he's morphing it into a planetary fortress, whereas Strelock is feeling a little bit more comfortable morphing it into an orbital command. He did actually have to destroy the rock, so once again a little bit of disadvantage to Strelock, but it is absolutely no problem, because Strelock has been taking the lead the entire time with 49 SCVs to 48. The SCV count is the same, but he will have 3 mules as opposed to 2, and he actually is making the time to push out here, so we will find this push, and I think he actually is going to lose this planetary fortress here, or at the very least lose a crazy amount of SCVs, because this planetary fortress will be done. So it was in fact the right choice to get in a planetary fortress, but you can see he's kind of a little bit worried. He's pulling back here. I did miss a drop here, but it was obviously not towards Happy's favor, because he did lose a lot of siege tanks, and it was not a drop, but it was a normal engagement. And he, again, you see he's trying to, excuse me, I had to swallow. He's trying to find that perfect cute range where the SCVs will in fact be hit, and he's pulling a lot of SCVs off the line. I don't really know what Happy is deciding to do here, but he is all in at this point. He did lose a lot of SCVs, so if we go to the unit counting station that we were already on, he is again down 4 SCVs, and I think Strelock should really just macro up. He should really make sure that he's on top of his SCV production. He is forgetting it a little bit, whereas Happy does not forget his SCV production at all, and I think he has all 3 of these SCVs actually rallied there, so he will have that resaturated pretty soon here, and Happy really needs to make something happen, because being at a 10 SCV disadvantage is not beneficial to you at all, and you can see Strelock is just slowly massing further and further ahead. If we bring back the little name thing, you can see that Happy is 30 supply behind, but this was exactly like last game. With that sensor tower up, he knows that there's a push coming in, so now is the time to engage. He's going to siege up all of his tanks. Bad siege though, because it's a little bit late, and a lot of the Marines are going to be melting because of that. His siege tanks are not in the back, and he will lose a lot of siege tanks, but I think that Strelock just has a too high unit advantage. But once again, Happy very good with his choices to engage, and that is all what the Terran really is. Like, that's really what Terran's importance is to figure out where to engage, when to engage, and how to engage. And Happy is extremely good at that. So even though he is consistently behind Strelock, who apparently just has a better macro, maybe has a better build order. I do not think it's better macro, but I think that the early oh, excuse me, I had to swallow again. Goodness. The early harassment by Strelock did do a little bit more damage than anyone really did realize, because he did lose a lot of SCVs. And if you look at the units killed, you can see 37 SCVs killed for Strelock, only 13 killed for Happy. So Happy really is kind of on the back foot. He's lost almost double the amount of SCVs that the Terran player is. And this is a really good time to engage. He's going to lose all of these siege tanks. All the siege tanks are in fact going down, and there goes the last siege tank. Really, there is nothing Happy can do here. That was a terrible time to, in fact, engage if you are Happy, but he did not really choose to engage. He was just trying to go back for some defense, and I really don't know what he can do. Strelock is going to, in fact, just siege up here, and he's just going to shell down on this unit. This is GG for Happy. Happy does end up leaving the game, and there you go. I gave you a game where Happy did come back with a very clutch defense, and a game where Strelock's harassment really did pay off for him, and you could see it throughout the entire game. He just had more units. And if we go to the income, even now, you can see that he has a whole 600 more minerals than him, and that's also because he chose to have this be an orbital command, so he could just mule like crazy. And actually, even while he was attacking, he was grabbing a 4th command center, so Strelock was pretty far ahead that entire game. But like I've said many times, if there is a matchup where the momentum constantly shifts, it is in fact TVT. This is Big Bear StarCraft, hoping you guys enjoyed it, and I am signing out.